The year is 1914. Europe is tense as the Austrians are preparing for intervention in Serbia. Soon, the Russians would jump to Serbia's defense, while Germany supports Austria unconditionally. As the French were making up their mind about the conflict, a German staff officer named von der Lanst was shot and killed by a French sniper. He crumpled to the ground, dropping his briefcase. Inside was a treasure trove of German military secrets, including detailed invasion plans. It was an intelligence officer's dream, and the man who found the briefcase was none other than Georges Clemenceau, the future French Prime Minister. The Germans had planned to use a surprise attack to quickly take Paris and force the French to surrender before the British could intervene. But with this new intelligence, the French were able to anticipate German moves and prepare defenses. They also shared this intelligence with the British. With this knowledge, the French and British were able to launch a massive counterattack, forcing the Germans to retreat. This came to be known as the Miracle of the Marne. It bought the Allies precious time to regroup and mount a proper defense, completely changing the trajectory of the war. But there's a twist. This story is actually about a different war entirely. The documents in that briefcase weren't actual invasion plans. Instead, they were filled with made-up information. The real plans were carried by a captain in a different briefcase, which survived the attack unscathed. So why did this almost completely change the course of history? Because sometimes the fog of war can be just as dangerous as the fighting itself. Clemenceau was eager to prove himself. When he saw the opportunity to capture a German staff officer, he took it, even though he had no way of knowing if the man carried any important documents. Once he had the briefcase, he wanted to deliver it to the French military command immediately. But first, he needed to get past the German soldiers guarding the area. When Clemenceau approached the outposts, a German patrol challenged him. Clemenceau claimed to be a journalist, saying he simply wanted to interview the prisoners he had captured. The guards believed him and let him pass. But when Clemenceau opened the briefcase, he realized that the papers inside were all written in code. He didn't have the key to decipher them, and with the Germans advancing, he knew he couldn't wait around to figure it out. So he did the only thing he could think of. He put the briefcase on a train to Paris and followed it on the next one. By the time the train carrying the briefcase arrived in Paris, word had already spread of the mysterious package. A crowd had gathered at the station to see what was being delivered. Meanwhile, General Joseph Joffre, the commander-in-chief of the French army, was expecting an imminent German attack, so he was spending the day planning defenses. When Clemenceau arrived at Joffre's headquarters, breathless from delivering the bad news, the general was furious. Why hadn't he been informed of the capture? But his anger turned to confusion when he saw the briefcase. If Clemenceau had done his job properly, he would have known that the Germans were not planning to invade through Belgium. Instead, he would have seen that the coded documents inside the briefcase contained orders for the defense of Belgium. But Clemenceau's failure to decipher the codes meant that the French were completely caught off guard. They had no idea that the Germans had already started their invasion. It was only thanks to the quick thinking of a few British and French commanders that the Allies were able to stop the German advance and save Paris. But if they hadn't, if the Germans had taken Paris, the outcome of the war could have been very different. The Germans might have forced the British and the rest of the Allies out of the war, and possibly reshaped Europe according to their vision. So remember, it's not always the battles that change history, sometimes the paperwork. If you enjoyed this video, then stay tuned for more.